Hello, everyone. Welcome to Real Dad Speak, a show where real dads share their stories about being present in their child's lives with the goal of raising responsible adults. I am your host, Sarah McClure. So, Kenny, we've come to the part of the show where I call it my final five. There will either
Mhm.
be questions to answer or fill in the blank. So, number one, what's the best advice your dad ever gave you?
Take care of my mama.
Number two, would you want your daughter to marry a man like you?
Absolutely.
Why?
I think I'm a good dude. And not being arrogant. I think I think my heart's in the right place most times.
Number three, would you rather have endless money or endless love?
Endless love.
Okay. Number four, if you had to pick a subject to teach young ladies for a day, what would you teach them?
Hmm. Self-esteem.
Okay. And number five, fill in this blank. What three adjectives would your daughter use to complete this sentence? My dad is blank, blank, and blank.
So you would say hardworking for sure. Um, Stubborn and honest.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate you sharing your stories. All right, Gloves. This is the part of the show where I ask you my final five questions or fill in the blank. So, number one, what do you think all boys and girls need from their fathers?
They need to be in their life. Guidance to be there for them. They need a father in their life to get a man perspective of today everything.
Right, right. So you said you were trying to show your daughters how to be independent and how to have their own stuff, to not have to wait, depend on a man for their personal items and stuff like that. You know, the young ladies today, they seem like they're after that dollar from a man. They've got social media saying, girls say, oh, that restaurant is not fancy enough and all that kind of stuff. Uh, what would you say if your daughter said, this guy wants to take me to Applebee, but I think I need to go to London Chop House or some other expensive restaurant? What would you tell her?
Well, it's the person you're talking to. They're not listening or understanding what you want. You have to put that in perspective. You like certain things. You like what you like.
Okay.
If people offering you things that you don't like, you don't have to accept.
Okay.
And that's what I always tell you. You always have your money and you can't go nowhere and depend on nobody to take care of your bill if it comes to that. You know.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Number three. What's the best advice your mother ever gave you?
Be respectful.
Okay.
No matter, people have they falls and believe about stuff, and you might think different of it, but you don't have to be harsh about it. Just be respectful. Be able to listen to what they got to say.
Okay.
No matter what, be able to listen to what they got to say, and don't take it personal because that's their perspective or whatever it is.
Mhm. What's the best advice you've ever given your daughters?
Don't be afraid to tell me nothing. Tell me anything, no matter what it is. Because I'm not judging you. I ain't gonna never judge you. I'm not gonna always be there for you. So whatever you want to talk about, whatever you need advice from me, don't hesitate.
All right. And number 5. This is a fill in the blank. The thing that makes me sleep good at night is blank.
What a good life I got. With the people, my wife, her family, my nephews and nieces and everybody that give me. I just feel good about thinking about everybody that's in my life.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Gloves. That's the end of this podcast episode. I think there's a real need to get back to having the women and the men living in the house together, taking care
Hmm.
of the kids. Just family is missing, and we just need that. We need it again, and kids need their dads.
Yeah,
Kids need their dads, and we
100%. I
have to
agree.
we have to stop saying she get on my nerve, da 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 da. I'm leaving and all that stuff. Guys have to just say, I need to take care of my kid. I need to be there for my kid.
Hmm.
It's always best when you can get a man's opinion as well as a woman's opinion when stuff happens in your life when you're growing up at school, when you get to college, whatever. It's always good to get that second opinion, you know, from somebody that you know that you can love and trust. And it would
So,
be nice if he was in the household too.
so yeah. That's the reality of it is, and I know you and most women probably don't want to hear this, but the reality of it is that too many people's grandmamas and aunties had long-term marriages that were with toxic men. And somewhere along the line, women started deciding that I don't want to be that woman. Like I don't want to be the woman who sticks with Ray because just because we got a family and is celebrating the 66-year anniversary, but like they've been hating each other for 40 years, right? So women started deciding like they don't want to be that woman. So then because of that and because the ineptness of a lot of men, women start becoming somewhat a little bit too independent. And it's hard to convince a man to create a family with a woman who has really got in her head that she don't need a man.
What about being a father were you most excited about when your wife was pregnant?
I didn't know what to expect. I just, I really didn't know what to expect. I didn't know, I can kind of compare this to when I was working in Detroit when I first got promoted to the rank of sergeant. I wanted the promotion and I wanted the money, but I didn't know what to expect being a supervisor. I didn't know what it was going to be like dealing with people older than me, people that I used to be peers next to.
Right.
So it was kind of, I can compare it because I had never been a dad before, and I was just nervous, and I really didn't know what to expect. I just know that I wanted to be what I would call the greatest father ever.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be like the ideal parent to my child. I wanted to take care of them, make sure they had what they needed, and at the same
Mhm.
time make sure that they understand that I was about to cuss. Understand that this stuff is not free,
Okay.
so that they can have a sense of responsibility and not feel privileged. Just to know that, hey, you have to earn what you get. You have to work hard
Right.
for it. You got to be respectful. I mean, it's just a whole lot of things,
That
you
went through
know.
your mind. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I got a beautiful wife who's a beautiful mother to our children. So yeah, she plays a large role. So
That's
yeah.
beautiful.
I've only had two. I've only had. Well, I can't say that no more. But back then I had one job. I was the waiter at a restaurant, and my boss, who I loved, and we worked for millionaires. We were working for the
Yeah.
movie. I'm talking GM, Ameritech, all these. And I was in charge of MBD at the time. It's now Chase Bank,
Right.
but I was in charge of what we call the bank suite, which was where all the Chase MBD employees came to eat through their functions. I even traveled with them, went to their events and everything.
Wow.
And they were like grooming me to take over.
Now keep in mind, I'm like 20, 21 at the time, so I'm real young. But they kind of knew I was kind of smart because I asked one of the brothers who was there, one of the young junior executive brothers. I said, "Let me ask you a question. Why do they stop talking when I walk in the room? But the other waiters walk in, they keep talking." And he told me straight out, he said, "Because they know you might be listening and might understand what you." So my boss, I love my boss. Actually, we got into it one day. I was late, and he was hearing the rumors and everything. And it's so funny. He got mad. And he sent me home. And I remember walking out the door. He said, "You ain't the boss." And he goes, "Yet." I never forgot that. And so I'm walking to my car. My car was parked in Capitol Park, and there was a bus stop right there. Across was McDonald's right there. There was a bus stop. Yeah. And it said, "Apply for the Detroit Police Department within." And it pointed to, there was an office, believe it or not, there was an office right there on Griswold where you could apply for the police department. And I was like, "I'll show you." So I went in and applied. And I had never been in any trouble. I had never even had a parking ticket, never been arrested, any of that kind of stuff. So within 2 weeks, I was taking the civil service exam. And I never forget this. Most people were telling me that they were like a year, 18 months.
Waiting. Right.
I applied in November. I was in the academy in April.
My mother was a very amazing person. She worked and she stayed on each and every one of us about our school, about cleaning, and explaining to us everything that she do as a woman, boy should do as a man. You know, that come from cooking, cleaning, washing, sewing, ironing, your yard work, garbage. That's our responsibility as being a young man, to go and be a grown man. So we all had to be that way. And on top of that, I had to be responsible for my brothers to do all that on top of me doing all that. So and she was just an amazing woman. And a lot of the time they say a woman can't raise a man. To me, it's not true, because I end up being a police officer. My brother Mike ended up being an electrician and a certified chef. My brother Antonio ended up being a top attorney. My brother Costello, he do hair, and he's a real estate broker. And in the neighborhood we grew up at, I remember an incident where my brother Tone got into it with another family member lived down, and the mother came down and told my mother, she said, "I don't think your boy is going to be nothing, a bunch of hoodlums." But it turned out her boys was hoodlums and getting locked up, and we end up being successful, all of us.
And who introduced you to law enforcement?
Buddy of mine named George Crawford. I used to work with him doing security at the Detroit Symphony Orchestra Hall. And one day I came to work as usual, as normal, and he, out of the blue, asked me, "Have I ever considered a job in law enforcement?" And I said, "Who?" He said, "So what are you talking about, George?" I said, "Detroit police." I said, "No, I've been on Detroit police officer. I don't like the police." I used to wear hate, but that was then. I was young. I hate the police.
How young were you?
20 something. I was 20, early 20, 22, 20, 22, 23, 24, something like that. I'm like, no way. You don't police officer. That's not for me. I got a degree. I want to be something different. He said, "No, but they need people like you." I said, "People like me? What do you mean people like me?" So whether they're changing how they hire people. I said, "What do you mean?" "Well, guys like you." I said, "What do you mean?" So you're pretty calm. So you're educated, you got a degree, number one. And then you're a friendly person. Your personal approach when you deal with people, you don't come hard or mean or angry or vulgar or profane. Not saying cops do that, but he said you're more cool. I told you now I was cool in high school. I told you that. You're more cool and calm. But you know how to throw down, you have to. You don't want to. So they need guys more level-headed, more cool and calm. You got the gift of gab. You can talk folks out of anything and make them cooperate and go to jail with you. I said, well, I don't want to do that. I said, so leave me alone before I hit you. Leave me alone. So I ended my tour duty for that day, went home, did my normal routine, prepare for the evening or whatever I was doing, watching a movie, whatever, go to bed. And I went to bed thinking about it. Woke up in the morning, went back to work, and I said, George, what I got to do? He told me to go to the Oakland County Community College. Okay. And he began to write the directions down and what to do, where to go. And I said, I know where to go. I used to play basketball up there with all the big dogs. So I knew where to go. And he said, keep in mind, Tim, it's only a law enforcement job there. There's no IBM. There's no Henry Ford Hospital. There's no Microsoft. There's no Sears and Roebuck. They were in business back in those days. There's no other corporations but law enforcement. So I got my suit, took my resume, and I passed my resume out, filled out applications for everybody there, and everybody called. So the first person to hire me was the Federal Bureau of Prisons. I was working corrections in the prison, Federal Bureau of Prisons. When I hired in, it was a medium high, not a max, but a medium high, meaning the most vicious criminals that you can come across. And as time went on, they went all the way down to a low minimum. So they had all these young folks coming in, got real wild. With the medium high, it was more calm and pretty laid back. You had your fights and assaults here and there, but it was pretty much laid back. And then the young folks came in, got kind of wild. But that time I was out the door, I was gone. So I've been in corrections. I've been on GPR radio and TV. I was a radio announcer. I was a TV talk show host. Matter of fact, before I got on the air with you, I was saying I got to retire from the Detroit Police and get back on radio. I just said that, then I punched in and I hooked up with you.
Yeah, I remember. Let me just give you an example. This way back when my middle daughter, I think she was like 2 or 3 years old, climbing up a ladder at the playground. And I ain't never seen a slide ladder this high before, except on a giant slide. This slide had to be about 15 feet. The ladder at the top had to be about 15 feet high. She gets to the top and falls off backwards. And I'm sitting there watching, and it's like slow motion. She falls down, on the ground where the metal part of the ladder is. It's got concrete posts. She falls down and hits her head on the concrete post, right? And she get a little dent in her head. And I'm panicking. I snatch her up, and I'm like, we gotta go to the emergency room. And we were at an open house for graduation for one of my wife's cousins, and all the aunties are out there, grandma, my wife, and they all mamas. They got kids, grandkids. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, right. I'm like the daddy to girls, and I gotta protect my girls.
Right.
If it would have been a little boy, I probably would have told him to dust himself off. Dust himself off and get back up the ladder, but I snatched this one up and I took her to the emergency room. I was like, that's why I got insurance. I don't give a damn. I'm gonna make sure she all right. And my wife was like, she all right. Then the aunties was like, well, she ain't passed out. She good. I'm like, she ain't passed out. I'm like, I'm taking my daughter to the emergency room. Forget y'all.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate you sharing your stories. And looking forward to talking to you soon. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Real Dad Speak, shown on YouTube every Tuesday at 7 p.m. There's a new episode. Thank you for watching, and please comment if you have any comments. Thank you.